Why did ancient humans believe in ghosts? Imagine you just lost someone you spoke to every day, someone whose voice you knew better than your own. And then one night, 3 weeks later, you wake up at 2 a.m. absolutely certain they were just in the room. You heard them. You felt them. Your brain is completely sure. Now, imagine this is happening to you 40,000 years ago. No grief counselor, no neuroscience, no explanation at all. Just the absolute certainty that the person you lost is still somehow here. So what do you do with that? You do what every human being in every civilization in every corner of the world has done. You conclude that death is not the end of presence, that something remains. They are still here in some form you can't fully see or touch, but can absolutely feel. You invent the ghost. And here is what makes this genuinely fascinating. You didn't need anyone to teach you that idea. Nobody passed it down. No missionary arrived with the concept. Every human culture on Earth, cultures with no shared history, no shared language, no contact with each other for thousands of years, independently arrived at the exact same conclusion. The dead linger. They watch. They return. When every human brain on every continent keeps inventing the same idea from scratch, that is not superstition. That is your brain doing something very specific. And understanding what it's doing tells you something profound about what it means to be human. The pattern recognition problem. Here's where the science gets genuinely interesting. Your brain is, above almost everything else, a pattern recognition machine. It is constantly, relentlessly scanning your environment for patterns, faces, voices, movement, presence, and it is specifically tuned to be hypersensitive to human-shaped patterns, because missing a human in your environment, especially a hostile one, was historically far more dangerous than seeing one that wasn't there.
Scientists call this hyperactive agency detection. Your brain would rather fire a false alarm 1,000 times than miss a genuine threat once, so it sees faces in clouds. It hears voices in wind. It detects presence in empty rooms. This is not a malfunction. This is the system working exactly as designed. Now, put a grieving person in that system. Someone whose brain has spent years building a detailed internal model of a specific person, their voice, their footsteps, their particular way of moving through a room, and then that person is gone.
But the model isn't gone. The model is still running, still scanning, still pattern matching against a template that no longer has a source. And sometimes, especially at 2 a.m. in a quiet house, the model finds what it's looking for, even when nothing is there. That is not a supernatural experience. That is a grieving brain doing exactly what brains do, detecting the pattern it was trained to detect, finding the person it cannot stop looking for, the dream problem. But here's where it gets complicated. Because grief isn't the only source of ghost experiences. Dreams are. And dreams of the dead are one of the most universal human experiences in recorded history. Ancient Egyptians documented them. Ancient Greeks built entire temple systems around them. Indigenous cultures on 6 continents developed elaborate ritual frameworks for communicating with dead ancestors through dreams.
And here is what makes dreams so powerful as a source of ghost belief. When you dream of someone who has died, the experience is not abstract. It is not clearly labeled as a dream. It feels real. They speak to you. They give you information. They seem fully present. And then you wake up and they are gone again. In a world without neuroscience, without any understanding of what dreams actually are, the most rational interpretation of that experience is obvious. They visited. They came back. They are still here in some form. The ancient human didn't invent ghost belief because they were primitive or frightened or stupid.
They invented it because their brain gave them an experience that had exactly one sensible explanation, given everything they knew. The dead return in dreams. Therefore, the dead are not entirely gone. But here is the twist, and it always gets more complicated. Ghost belief didn't just explain grief, it did something else, something arguably more important for the survival of early human communities. It kept the rules alive after the rule makers died. In a small group of 30 or 40 people, with no written law, no institutions, no formal system of enforcement, the threat of ancestral judgment was one of the most powerful social technologies ever invented. Don't do that. Your grandfather is watching. Don't take more than your share. The ancestors will know. The dead became the ultimate surveillance system, omnipresent, unverifiable, and impossible to bribe.
Ghost belief didn't just comfort the grieving. It held communities together across generations. It transmitted values. It enforced cooperation. It made the moral weight of the past feel permanently present in the decisions of the living. So the next time you feel something in an empty room at 2 a.m., a presence you can't explain, a certainty that someone is there.
When no one is, your brain isn't broken. It isn't being irrational. It is running a program so old and so deeply embedded that 40,000 years of accumulated knowledge hasn't touched it. It is doing what it has always done, looking for the people it cannot stop loving, and refusing, on some very ancient level, to accept that they are truly gone.